guys, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. I am coming at you today with another recent reads video for you guys. I think the last time that I checked in with you guys, I was a couple books away from finishing the Wings of Fire series. I have since finished book 10, so I am ready for book 11 that should come out in June. I want to say it comes out in late June. I'm happy to say that the 10th book, like, they kind of all ran together there for a while because I read them so fast. But I know I was telling you guys how after the 6th book, I want to say it was the 7th book that kind of took a downhill turn. And I'm happy to say that it did pick up a little bit towards the end as far as pacing and having a dynamic and really interesting plot again, so I'm happy to report that. And I still would definitely recommend this series if you like reading about dragons and if you want something cute and fun and pretty quick to get through. The audiobooks are also pretty good too, so I would recommend those. I think every single one of the Wings of Fire books that I've read has gotten a 3-star rating. I want to say maybe the 5th book, which is my favorite, got a 4-star rating. So they're by no means perfect. They're definitely meant for little kids, and at times there's not a lot of depth to them, but it's still such a fun world. The world is my favorite part about it, so I would recommend it. The next book that I read it in April. It was The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. I read this book in about an hour. It was really quick to get through. However, I was unprepared for how sad this book was going to be. It had several heartwarming moments, several cute and funny moments, and the ending, it was a good ending. It was a happy ending. No spoilers, but there was hope at the end. But overall, it was just so sad. My heart was just, my heartstrings were definitely tugged while reading this book at several points. But I would still highly recommend it. It's a very, very powerful middle grade story about a gorilla named Ivan, who was a real gorilla. This book is based on a true story about a gorilla who was living in a habitat in a shopping mall that was centered around, it was called the Big Top Mall, I think, and it was centered around a circus, and they had all these animals. But even though the manager of this mall in this particular story meant well, I mean, no matter what, these animals are just being mistreated by not being in their natural habitat and not being able to socialize with others of their kind. And it was so sad, but it was really, really good. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was for my middle grade book club at work. And the kids in my club, they ended up liking it, but a lot of them were just like, that was really sad. Could we have a happy book next time? And I was like, yes, we will. So next up, I actually DNF'd this one. It was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I ended up giving it 2 stars. And I stopped at about the 75% mark. I just could not do it anymore. This is a YA urban fantasy book about this girl named Alice, whose grandmother is kind of famous in an obscure way for writing this book of short stories, or these fairy tales, about this place called the Hinterland. And a lot of people end up being drawn to these stories, and she kind of develops a cult following, I guess you would say. And Alice, some years later, ends up being caught up in these really strange events that keep following her. And she is, and her grandmother had been missing, and she goes on a quest to find her. And it gets really, really strange. And if you don't want any spoilers for this, like, just skip over the next minute or two. I won't be giving any major plot points, but just in case. Once Alice goes into the hinterland itself, it got very, very weird. There were so many things happening all at once, and it was just trippy, and I did not enjoy it. I tried to push through, but I couldn't do it. I don't have time for books that I'm not enjoying it. So I just gave it 2 stars, and I put it down. I'm disappointed to say. Next up, I read Cydia, which is the third and final book in the Illuminae files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I thought the ending of this book was wrapped up in a really nice way, really clean way. And these books, they take you on a roller coaster ride. You think it's going one way, but then it goes the completely opposite direction. And it just plays with your emotions, but like in the best way. And it's just so fun. And finishing this series, it didn't make me emotional or anything, but I associate the Illuminae books with BookTube, because when I first discovered BookTube, the very first BookTuber I ever remember watching was Katrina at Little Book Owl. And one of her first videos that I watched was her book review of Illuminae, or she was talking about Illuminae, and she just kept going on and on about it. And it's one of the first books that I picked up because of BookTube, and it got me excited about wanting to start my own channel and all that. So now, a couple years later, here I am with my own channel, and I'm talking about finishing the series. It's just cool, and I wanted to share that with you guys. I think that the first book in the series, Illuminae, was my favorite. Gemina is definitely my second favorite, and then this last one was my least favorite out of the 3. I think because the novelty of the way that this book is structured and formatted, it kind of loses its appeal after a while because you're just used to it. But it was still super fun, definitely thrilling, and I thought some pretty good YA, I would say. I think it was innovative and just really, really fun. Next up, I read The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. This is an adult thriller. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that it blew me away or anything, but I was very much engaged throughout the entire story. It was definitely inspired by It by Stephen King, and mainly because it follows this group of children in the 80s, and then it flashes forward to when they're adults, and there's this mystery surrounding this town. These kids used to have these coded messages with each other that involved drawing chalk stick figures on the sidewalks in front of their homes. And there ended up being these murders, and you find the chalk figures around the murders, so somebody is like using them to make it look like the kids have something to do with it. It was just, it was a roller coaster ride as well, and I did not see a bunch of the twists coming. The ending, it was all right. It wrapped up pretty nicely. It all made sense. But I think the first half of the book was a little bit more appealing to me, because I think the resolution to the mystery just wasn't as fun as the build-up, if that makes sense. So I would still really, really recommend it. I'm not somebody who reads a ton of thrillers, but I really liked this one, and I think it would be a perfect fall or autumn read, and especially around Halloween time. Next up, I read The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. This is a young adult urban fantasy / historical fiction. I don't really know how to classify it. Maybe magical realism. So we follow this young girl, and she lives in this coastal Oregon town, which is really dark and gloomy, and it rains a lot. She lives on an island just off the coast of the town. And I loved the setting. The whole atmosphere of the book was dark and a little bit creepy, but magical in a way because of the setting and the environment that she lived in. Everything was just shrouded in mist, and it was just, I wanted to live there. I was very, very much drawn to the setting, which is my favorite part of the book. And if I can't remember if I've said this already, I did give it 4 stars. This book honestly blew me away in that it really surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I actually almost didn't pick this book up, but I'm glad that I did, because I was just hooked from the very, very beginning until the very, very end. It was some really good YA. And I've read, not a ton of YA, but I've read enough to realize when a book is truly good YA. this one definitely stands out from the crowd, in my opinion. And if you're looking for something that's a little bit dark, a little bit mysterious, I would highly recommend this one. It has to do with these three sisters back in the 1800s, I want to say, or the 1700s, that were drowned in the ocean off the coast of the town because they were accused of being witches. And it's about how they supposedly come back and haunt the town and cause these drownings in the town. It was so alluring and captivating. It really caught me by surprise, and I just really enjoyed it. And then the next book that I read that I just finished yesterday, I gave it 5 stars, and it will definitely be on my list of the best books of 2018 for sure, and that is Echo by Pam Munoz Ryan. This was incredible, you guys, just absolutely incredible. So we follow 3 storylines throughout history. It's middle grade historical fiction, and you get these 3 distinct plot lines, and then at the end you see how it all ties together. But basically you see how this seemingly magical harmonica makes its way throughout time to each of these perspectives, and how the love of music can really affect you, and how the power of music can bring anyone joy and just uplift you in any situation. So I said in my Goodreads review that if you're not sure if you like middle grade books, this one will definitely wow you. And I said the characters and the plots and the writing were also engaging, and I felt really deeply attached to the characters and their stories. And I just loved it. I can't recommend it highly enough. It blew me out of the water, and this is actually the book that I picked for my Tween Chapters book club for the month of May. And I just flew through it in, I think, 3 days. It's over 600 pages. But it captivated me again. And I can't recommend it highly enough. So those are all the books that I've read recently. I currently am reading Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. I still have not read that. And then I want to get to Tower of Dawn before, let's see, the next Throne of Glass, and I think the last one in the series comes out this September. So I would love to get through those, so I'm kind of ready and fresh for the new release in the fall. And then I also picked up Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Frost and Starlight, which I'm excited to start as well. It's a novella in her A Court of Thorns and Roses universe. And I'm also wanting to pick up this book right here. I have it buried under a stack. It's one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is The Queens of Innisleer by Tessa Gratton. It's a chunker of a book that is not a young adult, but an adult fantasy retelling of Shakespeare's King Lear, which I love. I love that story. It's just a beast of a story, and I cannot wait to see how this book handles that retelling. It's, like I said, one of my most anticipated releases, and I'm hoping to get to it very, very soon. So that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know down below a favorite of yours that you've read recently. If you've read any of these and you want to talk about them with me, just feel free to let me know. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.